I didn't know that. All right, we're live. Woo!
Oh my.
Two different limbos. That's right, guys. That's right, chat. Two different limbos. Welcome to episode 8 of Two Fat Guys Pool List. We are talking about last week's pools, September 16th. Yes. This is a giant-sized issue episode in the sense that we have 15, count them, 15 books to review. So we are going to try to be snappy. We're going to put the emphasis on certain books, and some we're just going to try to power through because we've got a lot of books. We got a bedtime, and tomorrow's Monday, and we got to go to work. So let's just get this show started. We're going to go right into it. We're going to start off with the reading order of our X books. So we're going to kick the show off with Hellions number 4. Number 4. So last we left the Hellions, Havoc was being manipulated, hypnotized, maybe, by Madeline Pryor.
Yeah, under the sway.
Under the sway. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, when she's not wearing that much clothes, wouldn't you? I mean,
no, not enough to cut my mouth open. That's for sure.
That's right. So in the last issue,
No way.
Pryor glued his mouth shut, and then he cut it open with a piece of glass. It was pretty crazy. Anyway, so we get a little bit of resolve from last book in the sense that the legacy marauders that Pryor is trying to resurrect and basically clone and gather an army against Krakoa, they start losing a little bit of sway from Madeline because she's opening a portal to hell or some kind of goblin hell on Havoc. And I don't quite, because I think she needs a sacrifice. Is that what she needs, or something like that? She needs some kind of blood sacrifice, and Havoc's her boy. So while she's doing this ceremony, she loses her influence on the other zombie clone marauders, legacy marauders. And Gray, I can't remember his name. It's like Gray Scale or Gray.
Gray Crow.
Gray Crow takes this opportunity to basically save his friends or his coworkers, and he basically kills all of the legacy marauders in hopes that we can resurrect them, or they can resurrect them on Krakoa through the 5. So that's how that.
I wasn't expecting that, but when he was he just pulled his gun out, and she's like, "Nothing that can't be fixed." Bam.
I thought it was pretty cool, but I'm in the same boat. Duh, that makes sense. If you have their DNA and you have their memories within Cerebro, you can bring them back. So, but he kind of just did it in good faith. So he kills the legacy marauders, and then he's heading back. He's heading towards Havoc and Madeline to go save Havoc. And so while that's going on, he sends Psylocke and the young Sabretooth, or kid Sabretooth. I don't remember the name. They start heading out. Wild Child. They start heading out of the mansion, and when Gray shows up to Madeline and Havoc, Madeline's basically pretty damn close to getting ready for the sacrifice to go down, and Havoc is basically strapped to the wall with demon arms holding him in place, and he's just kind of I love you so much. And before she can complete the ritual, Gray shoots Madeline in the heart, I think.
In the heart, yeah. In the heart.
Just straight up sniper in the hill, just boom. And Havoc loses his shit.
Pretty sure he goes Super Saiyan, right?
Yeah, basically. he destroys the entire facility basically after that. Because I think, and if I'm not mistaken, I think these two have had a little bit of a connection outside of Cyclops' connection with Madeline. I think it's kind of sloppy.
They had a thing for a while.
Sloppy seconds, essentially. So when she gets shot, she basically tells Havoc, look, you're the only one that's ever really cared for me. You're the only one that's ever made me feel like I'm a real person and not a clone. And so it's kind of a tearjerker. And so when she died, Havoc goes Super Saiyan 3 or 4 or whatever you want to call it, or the AF5, and blows up the house. And in doing that, he kind of loses his memory a little bit. So once it's all said and done, Psylocke finds Havoc, and he's kind of like, "What happened? Did I do that?" And like,
well, it's kind of like what happens in the very first issue too.
Yeah. So when he sees red, he
remember it.
Yeah, when he sees red, he loses his memory, or at least for a temporary time.
Yeah.
So after that, we go back to Krakoa. They're kind of it's kind of the aftermath of everything. Oh, and that's the other thing. We skipped one big thing. So when they're getting ready to leave after they've kind of taken care of the Legacy Marauders, Nanny finds all of Sinister's clone experiments chopped up and thrown into a trash bin. And she's just kind of like, whoa, this is... I mean, I'm fucking crazy, but this is some batshit crazy stuff right here. So she kind of gets a little emotional, and she's really upset that she saw that because, you know, she is perceiving Sinister from, you know, him looking at them as like chopped liver. Like, you know, I don't give a fuck about y'all. I do whatever I want. So we'll get back to that later. When they get back to Krakoa, Havoc is basically trying to vouch for Madeline to be resurrected because she's technically a mutant, even though she's a clone. And so he brings it up to the council, or not the council, the Quiet Council, to see if they'll resurrect her, and it doesn't go his way. You know, apparently Scott Summers was in the council meeting and said he did everything he could to get her resurrected. I have a feeling he was probably one of the no votes, even though he probably doesn't get a vote. But I'm sure he went on the witness stand and said, "There's no way in hell you're gonna resurrect Madeline Pryor to live on Krakoa." And so
you got to think about who's on the council too, right?
Yeah,
Sinister's on the council, and he's probably not. He probably doesn't want her anywhere around Krakoa.
Yeah,
bringing up his past mistakes, and then she's obviously a clone of Jean Grey, who is also on the council. Mm-hmm. I highly doubt Jean wants her evil demonic clone anywhere on the island.
Yeah, and also there's also another love interest on the council for Scott. So yeah, you don't want another one on there to have to kind of fight for it. Emma. So you know you've got Emma and
got her thing going on with Wolverine. So
right, but that's just a lot of triangles, and at some point you go from triangle to hexagon to like just crazy shit. So numerous reasons why you don't want the Goblin Queen on Krakoa, but it does bring up a really big, you know, question that, you know, you can clearly resurrect clone versions of mutants. There's no problem in that. It's just if they've got past transgressions, they're probably not going to get resurrected.
I don't know if that's it. I don't think they said anything about like her past transgressions. They were specifically saying like, do we view clones as real people?
But it seemed like they were going to bring back the clone Legacy Marauders because those were clones.
There were clones of them, but they were talking about how the cloned bits aren't part of their reality. Basically,
I see. Okay.
Basically this just makes it really convoluted about who we are and who we're not going to bring back.
Gotcha. They pick and choose. So that happens, and the whole time this is going on, where the Summer brothers are basically at each other's throats emotionally, we see Sinister kind of watching in the background, kind of having fun with it, being like, "Oh, this is my reality TV. I love it so much. Yay, yay, yay!" And Nanny shows up behind him like a fucking ninja, and is like, "I saw what you did." And it's not cool, bro. And she kind of puts Sinister on the spot to the point where Sinister's even like, "How dare you question me?" But at the same time, that's kind of creepy that like my underling is basically threatening my life. So that's basically how Hellions ends. Is we take care of the Goblin Queen pretty quickly. We throw some new rules into the protocols of resurrection, and we're off to Ten of Swords. So this kind of got wrapped up pretty nicely in a little bow. I actually enjoyed it a lot. I wasn't like, oh man, I want more. I was like, oh, this was nice. Now we can get on to Ten of Swords.
Yeah.
I felt like we're not, you know, with the other issues like X Factor, we know that literally the next issue, even though we're still in the middle of a story, we're just going to be like a pause button. And this one was just like wrapped up. We can start fresh into Ten of Swords. So I applaud Williams on this one.
Wells.
Williams.
Yeah, except I think that the story was like a 1 to 2 issue story that took 4 issues. And I was super into that.
I think another reason for that though is because you're kind of coming off with some of these characters. You're kind of coming off of the Fallen Angels thing, so I think you need to. I personally liked the building up of relationships. I mean, if we had done this in three issues, I feel like it might have been a little bit more rushed. But I do see what you're saying. All right, next up, we finally get our Ten of Swords Prelude story in Excalibur 12. Holy shit. Do we actually get some payoff from the previous previous issue? Previous issue, we got, I think 4 to 5 pages of a little brief history of externals. And we were kind of like, why are we getting this information? Well, now we know why. So the entire culmination of Excalibur right now, 1 through 12, Apocalypse has been building to this moment. He's been building to what we're getting into in Ten of Swords. We may not have known it, but now that we're kind of getting into these later issues, 10, 11, 12, we're finally seeing the dots being connected of why Apocalypse has been so just transfixed with Otherworld and magic and just all of it. The Apocalypse we know has never been into magic. He's just been into weapons, survival of the fittest, and that's it. And now we're into this whole survival of the community. Getting to go, we've been trying to figure out why he's been experimenting on people from Otherworld. We've been trying to figure out why he's getting into sorcery and getting into heavy grimoire of Otherworld. And we finally get it in this issue. So basically what happens is he invites, or he summons the other externals, which I guess they all have the ability to do within their relationship. And he basically tells them that as a whole, mutantdom has met them at their level of immortality, right? And so because of this, things don't necessarily have to change, but externals are no longer valued, if you will, as much as they were before Krakoa, right?
Yeah.
And basically what he's trying to do is he needs 4 of the externals to die in this book, because what he's trying to do is he's trying to build a permanent gate to Otherworld, and then from Otherworld he's trying to build a gate to Araco, or inside Araco, which we find out later. So he basically, in the previous issue, he was summoning Richter through a gate, a partially formed Krakoan gate, and he kind of gets stuck in between the middle. And in doing this, I from what I took from it was when he was in the middle or in between the two gates, he got an upgrade in power.
Yeah, big time.
And Quake essentially can now manipulate lava, which is fucking nuts. And so when he shows up through the gate, all the externals are there, and Apocalypse is giving this huge spiel about them not being basically not relevant anymore, and they need to do their part for the community of mutants. And so he kind of takes it upon himself to start, I guess, killing them, or picking and choosing who to kill, because he took a couple externals on his side. A couple of them knew what was going on. They were kind of playing sheep and or wolf in sheep's clothing.
And he took Celine and the one that's on the New Mutants cover, the Deadpool, Gideon. The two he took the 2 most popular ones, the ones that have been used the most. So, yeah, I mean, that was just a writing choice, I think, just to keep the more noticeable characters in play. Yeah.
So he's basically telling them that they need to serve their purpose, and what it is when they die, their bones become gems. or massive stones. I don't quite understand that part. But he needs these stones or these giant stone towers in order to create a gate to Otherworld. So he sacrifices 4 of them. And when he does it, only 3 of them turn into stones. 1 of them does not. And I can't even remember the name of who didn't turn into a stone.
It is... Oh, no, names aren't here. I don't know.
Starts with
Kandra.
Kandra?
Kandra.
So Kandra, in the previous issue, we saw her with the other externals take her soul as basically out of her body and put it into a stone. And what happened is when she did that, if her physical body dies, you technically don't get her essence, so you can't turn her into a stone, or you can't turn her into a giant stone. And we find out that the stone of her soul is in Otherworld, and the person that is actually, we've come to find out that Gambit is actually stealing the stone, not knowing that it's her, right? So once he grabs it, she shows up kind of ghostly around him, but he's the only one that can see her. And she's like, "Hey, cool, you found my body, or you found my soul. Please keep it with you and keep it safe because I don't want to die." And Gambit's kind of going I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And as they're leaving the Citadel, they get caught stealing something from the Citadel from Century or something like that. I can't remember her name. And she's basically saying, "Give me my stone back." And he looks at her and goes, "Well, I don't really trust you. I really don't trust Apocalypse, but I can deal with him." And he throws the stone through the partial gate, which lands over towards Apocalypse. And bada boom, he gets his other stone. And bang, we have a permanent gate from Krakoa to the Otherworld realm. And so that's where it kind of gets laid off in that sense. I think that's where it kind of ends. But we're kind of told at the end of this issue, yeah, you made this, but you may not like what you just did.
Yeah.
It goes, we've learned the value of sacrifice, and in that moment, the magician of the mutant kind spoke a bardic truth. Am I reading that right? B-A-R-D-I, bardic truth.
Bardic. We
would indeed lose more than we had planned for. So this is basically getting us into the Ten of Swords, and I think we're gonna. I don't know about you, and you can correct me if you think it's otherwise, but I think we're going into an event that actually is going to have some consequence, where I think we're going to lose some dominant players within the Dawn of X books.
Maybe. I'm just curious how.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean I can see the hesitancy of you never really lose anybody within the Marvel, Marvel
right,
comic book
being pulled off the board. I mean, we didn't have Kitty Pryde for 8 months, so
that's true.
In that way.
Well, but how long would we technically not have had her if we hadn't had the pandemic? 2 months?
4 months, yeah.
4 months. Anyway.
It was issue 6 when she died and issue 11 or 12 when she came back. So.
Okay. I mean, that's a decent amount of time. Anyway, we know that we're probably going to lose some major players in Ten of Swords, and this is just getting us ready for it. So, what?
Oh, did you not see Meg?
No.
She ran by like she was a robber.
Okay. Sorry. Whatever. So anyway, yeah, that we basically in this issue we set up the gate that's going to set us up for Ten of Swords. Yep. And with that, we will move into probably the biggest book of our show, X-Men number 12.
Biggest scratcher of the show.
Yes and no, because when I had to talk to you about it, I brought up a lot of things that you forgot about, and I think there's a lot more in this book. So, what we know from Hickman is he relies.
To forget things with Hickman.
Absolutely not, and I've read that book I think twice, 2 or 3 times. The Powers of 10 and House of X. Anyway. We'll start there. So in Powers of 10, I think it's issue 4. Moira joins the forces of Apocalypse in her 9th life, And in that ninth life, they bring back Apocalypse's original horsemen. But before they did that, Apocalypse basically explained to Moira why the horsemen had been gone for so long. And what had happened was the island of Araco had split. And in that split, the I think it's called the Twilight Sword, came out of inside the island, and demons were coming out attacking the earth. And so Apocalypse and his original 4 horsemen and his armies took on the threat and saved mankind, or at least that's the way the story has been told. And in that battle, in order to end it, Apocalypse had to seal his armies and his original 4 horsemen into Araco to save mankind. That's the story we know, right? And in this book, we get an explanation, or I don't want to say the other side of the story, but we get a more clear picture of what really happened in that time from the summoner, who is the grandson of Apocalypse, who is on the cover.
Well, there's literally a title page before it starts, and it says, A Mutant's History of Araco and the Fallen World of Amith.
Amith.
So it really, gives you, I don't know, it's almost like it's a whole nother book.
No, 100%. No, this book, if we thought X-Men number 10 was confusing, remember? I mean, we were just like, wait, who's I forget his name, but we were completely
Vulcan, yeah.
Vulcan, yeah. We didn't know what the hell was going on. This one's even more strange, except that it does have the connections to powers, and if you remember, you're not as afloat as you'd think you'd be.
Right.
But basically, Apocalypse sits down with Summoner's grandson, and he's like, tell me what happened. Tell me what they think, essentially, what people within Amith and inside Araco, what they think of me and what really did happen. And he lays it out. This is basically a huge history lesson for us before Ten of Swords starts, which is this coming week. And basically, Summoner tells him, like, yo, I know that you think you did the right thing and you did, like, the heroic thing, but there are some people, and I'm assuming a lot of people within Amith, that don't look at you as a hero. Look at you more of like, you saved your own ass and you sacrificed us. Yeah. And I think that's where our hostility is going to come in with this book. I think the people and the horsemen that were stuck in Araco, they're pissed. They're fucking mad that they got sealed away for thousands and thousands of years. And a key character that shows up in this book that technically is her first full appearance is she gonna try to sneak by again?
Yes.
She's like crawling on the floor. Meg, just go across. It doesn't matter.
Just go by here.
Yeah, it's okay.
Do you want me to cover up this? No, I'm just going. Here. What? Oh, I need my drink. You're gonna do the show, Meg. Come on. People that are watching me right now.
Yeah, we actually have people watching. Thank you very much. Anyway, in her first. What's up, cuties? What's up, Jamie? Basically, it's her first full appearance, but we get Apocalypse's wife, Genesis, in this book. We did get I don't know if you call it a cameo appearance, but it's a very brief appearance in the Free Comic Book Day, technically. But she's in full force in this book. So she was also sacrificed in this original war. She went in and she got sealed with the Horsemen. So what we find out is there's basically a huge mutant army inside the island of Araco called Amith, and they have a almost mirror society. Yeah, like it's almost identical to Krakoa. They have a council. The island itself is got a big face like Krakoa, like it's a tree. They've got the whole shebang. Yeah, if you look at the council behind them, there's a big giant tree face.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, when they get sealed away, they just continue life on, and they're fighting demons endlessly. And they set up their own civilization. I don't know if they have the same protocols, like if they have a resurrection protocol or something like that. We don't know. We'll find out. I don't think they do, though, because we find out later in the book, while they're fighting, there's one mutant called the White Sword, who is essentially their external, who has lost his mind. And he basically fights demons every day. But his power is he can resurrect his army every day. So they can go out and fight and kill, and die. And then he'll just resurrect everybody back again, and they'll do it again, over again. So he does this over hundreds, if not thousands of years. And he loses his mind, essentially. And towards the end of this, he loses his mind so much that he doesn't know who's good and who's bad. So he's just attacking everybody. And, it looked like he grew like a second head because I saw Meg's face go like, pop. So he loses his mind, and the mutants of Ameth end up fighting him. And I don't know if they end up killing him or not. I don't think they do. I think they just go to war with him.
Yeah.
And then at some point, Genesis goes and tries to conquer, or tries to take out the head of the demons or something like that. And the head of the demons is our classified character, who ends up being called Annihilation, which is, I find interesting. So Genesis goes and has like a duel with Annihilation, and she loses, and she's killed, or at least we're told that she's killed. So in doing that, the demon side, I guess, the demon mutant side is victorious, and they go to conquer the rest of the mutants. And when this is all going down, Summoner is basically sent out of Ameth into Araco to go find Apocalypse and say, hey, we need to see if you can save our asses, because we're falling, we're dying, we're losing this war that you sent us into. Now that is what Summoner is saying. Do I believe it? No.
No.
I don't, because in one of the preview pages where we showed all the swordsmen on the other side, he's classified as an enemy. So I don't believe it. I think he's tricking Apocalypse to come in so they can get vengeance on him and take over Krakoa. That's what I think is going to happen.
How do they even know about Krakoa?
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. In 10 of, I believe in 10 of Swords, or I'm sorry, not 10 of Swords. I keep on saying 10 of Swords. Powers of 10, when Araco split open, at the time, I believe Araco and Krakoa were still one. They were still one island at that point. They were still one mass.
Well, yeah, but no one was living on Krakoa.
No one was living on Krakoa, but the army had to go there before going into Ameth. I don't know, dude. I don't know. All I know is I think Summoner is betraying Apocalypse. I don't believe he was sent to see if Apocalypse can save them. I think he was sent to Krakoa to get Apocalypse, to get vengeance from I think the Horsemen are trying to get vengeance on him. I think that whole mutant society, that whole mutant army, wants to kill Apocalypse. And for some reason, Apocalypse is like, you know what? Maybe if I save them, they'll be happy with me.
Yeah,
that's my guess on it. I think it's much bigger than that. But anyway, we get a history lesson from them, and after that whole thing is done, Apocalypse basically tells Summoner, "Listen, the gate's ready. I made it, and I need you and a couple other mutants to go down and basically get it started for me. I will go with y'all. I'm bringing an army to save y'all." And Summoner's like, "Okay, I'll do it. Let's go." And again, I just
really strange choice too of the two that he sent down there.
So yeah, again, I don't know my history on mutants, but it was Banshee and and
Eunice, the Untouchable.
The
I
Untouchable.
don't know who Eunice is. I definitely know who Banshee is, and I don't understand why he was involved. I mean, I like it, but
definitely it's a stretch. From my understanding, again, watching Harold's videos, I think Eunice is one of the mutants that Rasputin has DNA from. And Harold brought that up again. He's like, I don't think that's a coincidence. So who knows, man? I would be absolutely thrilled if Rasputin shows up in Ten of Swords. I think that character was kick-ass from the original Powers of 10 line, and she got taken away in issue 3 or 4. Like, kind of sucks. Like, I was kind of hoping to see that. I like that character a lot. If you've got the powers of Ileana and Colossus, and you can teleport, like, dude, that's fucking cool, dude. Like, she's just a cool character, and she's got like an energy beam sword. It's just cool. Anyway, so this issue ends with the summoner, Banshee, and Eunice going into the gate and getting ready to basically kick this event off. And I cannot wait, dude. I know you were not as thrilled with this book, but I enjoyed it because it made me. It felt like a 10 Powers of 10 House of X storyline again. Like, I feel like we've been all over the place in X-Men, rightfully so, but I felt like this was back to like classic Hickman storytelling, building a world, getting us ready, like giving us history, like really giving us an in-depth look into what we're about to get into. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like there's two different eras. There's a, House of X Powers era and then a Dawn of X era. They feel different.
Yeah.
This felt way more House of X than did Dawn of X.
Well, and it's because I think with the Dawn of X, we're dealing with real-time issues. I guess you could say, like, how the world is dealing with this new reality. And this one, like you're saying, this is more like getting into the lore of things, getting our history so we can understand what the hell we're going to be reading this coming week in creation. But I dug it. And then again, the artwork too. Dude, the artwork in this book is so good. And how is it you that does the penciling?
Yeah, Lionel Francis. Yeah.
Dude, his penciling on Apocalypse, how he's just like, like, dude, those shots are so good. Anyway, I enjoyed this book. This is getting all the X-Men books this week outside of Spotlight have been getting me hyped for Ten of Swords, and I think it's going to be a really good event. I don't think it's going to be a downer like Empire. Or cross your fingers, I don't know. All right, next up, Giant Size X-Men Storm. Okay, so this is the 5th or 6th book within the Giant Size? 5th. So this is wrapping up our Giant Size for now. I believe I have a feeling we're going to get more later on down the road, which I am not complaining about. There's one thing though. I will say that Giant Size, so Storm, Phantom X, Jean and Emma, and I guess out of all of them, I think Magneto was the weakest. But
okay. That's what you're saying, yeah.
But the only reason why I'll say that is because we just don't know where that connection's coming from. I don't know if the Magneto Giant Size is going to have any kind of implication in Ten of Swords, or if it's going to have an implication with another story arc coming down the road, which I think this entire Giant Size series is setting up the next X-Men event, not Ten of Swords. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, these stories are definitely not involved with Ten of Swords, and especially Magneto's. I find it interesting that besides early in House, when Professor X and Magneto first go to Namor, and Namor's like, "Nah, y'all aren't there yet. Like, come back when you're ready to do some real shit."
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the only other interaction that Namor has had with them, and I just don't think Hickman's gonna leave that alone. But I also wonder if maybe Hickman's trying to back off of a Namor storyline and not step on Jason Aaron's toes because he's got something building there as well.
Or Hickman is going to inject the X-Men into what Aaron's going to do in December. With Phoenix. With Phoenix Force. I think
obviously it would make sense, right?
Yeah, so I think that's what that is. But anyway, so what, this whole Giant Size kicked off with Storm being sick or being infected by the children in the vault, some kind of techno virus. And so we were trying throughout this entire series a way to cure her, right? Not so much in Nightcrawler and Magneto, but definitely in Phantom X and in this one. And one thing I did find interesting is in Nightcrawlers, it gets revealed to Magic that Doug has Warlock infused onto him, and
even though it's super obvious, like you can tell he's on his arm the entire time.
No duh, right? But so he makes it known to Magic, like, don't tell anybody. And then in this issue, like literally the first page, Doug's flying around with a Warlock jetpack and like not making it a secret, basically.
Right.
So I'll be interested to see what's going on there. I know there's a lot of speculation that Doug might be one of the betrayers in Ten of Swords. This might be part of it. I don't know.
He's on the page, right?
Yes, he is. So basically what they do is that Doug and I don't know the other name of the character find out a way to potentially save Storm by going to the world, which was introduced in Phantom X's episode or issue. And so they go to try to find Phantom X, but they end up finding a random AIM scientist.
Yeah.
And they're like, where's Phantom X? And he's like, oh, well, Phanto is going to take me to the world. I'm paying him a lot of money to take me there. So you guys can hitch a ride. And they're like, sure, whatever. And when they meet up with Phantom X, I get like a more serious but still joking Deadpool. That's my vibe I get from Phantom X. Like, not as insane, but still smart alecky and like kind of does whatever the fuck he wants. But he's going to crack a joke on you, but he's not insane. Anyway, they find a way to get into the world, and they fight their way to go see, presumably, Phantom X's cloned brother. And in doing so, they find a machine that can actually cure, or that can supposedly cure Storm of her ailment. Yeah. And this is where the book for me got really kick-ass. I think the artwork really got really cool when she entered that machine. Like, at first I was kind of like, this issue's okay. But then when we got into the world and we got into, like, the zaniness of the world, I really dug it. And so they throw her into a machine, and the AIM scientist is essentially trying to take out the virus out of her. And she starts getting, like, all warped and, like, other dimension. Like, her body gets all twisted. And I thought the artwork for that was great. And in this, we're having a dialogue with Storm saying, like, why don't I just... You're probably asking yourself, why don't I just die and use the resurrection protocol? And I think we've all asked that question, like, what's the point of death in these books? Hickman's kind of made this thing where it doesn't matter if you die, we'll just bring you back. And Storm kind of rebukes that and says, like, no, I have a life worth fighting for, and I'm going to do that. That's my purpose in life. And so she rejects kind of the resurrection protocol if she absolutely can. If it warrants that she can get out of it without having to be resurrected, that's what she's going to do. And so she kind of has, like, I am me, I am proud, I am a goddess moment, and kicks the bucket on the virus, and she's back to normal. But the virus is unstable, and it becomes this new organic living entity. And this is where I think Hickman's kind of getting us ready for the next big event after this year. And I think it's going to draw heavy on I think the Children of the Vault and the Phalanx. Because also in this issue we get, Doug reveals his Warlock armor, which I thought was really kick-ass. But again, I'm confused. Yeah, but again, I'm confused. I'm like, I thought that was supposed to be a secret, and you're definitely flaunting it in front of, like, a council member. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I wonder if it's either, like, just a mistake and maybe we should have been told at some point it's not a secret, or if it's the people that he's in front of he's not worried about knowing.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to... Hickman will explain it to us at some point. Anyway, the entity, the living entity, is basically left in the world, and before they leave, Doug has a dialogue with it, and of course we don't understand it, but he does. And he's kind of like, hey, I'll see you soon. I know who you are. You can't fool me, and we'll we'll see you soon. And that's how it kind of ends. You know, again, it's wrapping it up, getting us ready for Ten of Swords. But also we get Phantom X ends up staying in the world this time. You know, he doesn't leave this time. He stays with his brother. And I think we're going to see a lot more of these two characters. I hope we get a lot more world going forward after Ten of Swords. Because it's just so fucking weird and like abstract, and that's one of the main things I like about the cosmic stuff is it's so out there. And I really liked the last two giant size issues have been really fun, and this one was really good. So that is giant size. Again, I think Jean Grey, Emma Frost, Phantom X, and Stormer were the strongest ones, and I think the weakest one was Magneto for sure.
See, I mean, Magneto's my favorite.
Magneto. I'll say this: I'll probably be eating those words in about a year from now when we find out what's really going on with that. But for me, it felt so abstract, like I didn't know what the hell was going on. So, okay, the next one, I think you were really excited about this one, so I want to see your take on it. So we got Marvel Snapshots X-Men featuring Cyclops. So,
yeah,
give it to me.
So, yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this issue, but I can understand how it might be difficult for some. So basically, you know, these Marvel Snapshots have been, you know, either origin stories or like beginning stories, early stories of particular characters. Now, I do think it's a little deceiving to call this Snapshots X-Men because it's very much just Cyclops.
Mm-hmm.
Like it should, like I understand that Cyclops is, you know, part of X-Men, but like this should have been called Snapshots Cyclops.
Cyclops, yeah.
And it's basically like not an origin story, but basically a really early story from him in the orphanage, way before he becomes under the tutelage of Xavier. And it's a story about how, you know, he looks up to Reed Richards as a hero and as a scientist and as a person that helps other people. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. There's no big giant revelations. There's no like, you know, huge retconning of Cyclops' origin. It's just a fun story of kind of like Cyclops' motivations.
And also how he gains his leadership skills a little bit. Like he kind of takes those leadership qualities that he has within the X-Men from Reed Richards and their family. And I think that's kind of a neat little connection there within the Marvel universe.
Yeah, for sure. So as far as like being consequential to Marvel history or Marvel continuity, it's not at all. And so I think that a lot of people, you know, you kind of have to keep your expectations in the right place. For that, I will say, if that's where the story stops, this is kind of a B- issue. It's not bad, it's not horrible, but probably wasn't really worth much. Honestly, I think the art kind of didn't do the writing justice.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't stand the art. I thought it was pretty bad.
Wow. But I mean, the writing. I mean, you were really excited about the writing because it's.
Yeah. So. So this was written by Jay Edidin. He's one of the co-hosts of Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, which is one of the best podcasts ever. And his like favorite character of all time is Cyclops. I'm pretty sure that there's no other human in the world that knows Cyclops better than he does. So I was really excited when he got the chance to write this.
And do you think it held up to your expectations?
I think maybe I expect a little too much.
Let me say this. When you saw the Marvel Snapshots, did you think it's like they're all interconnected, or did you think it's just okay? Yeah, because like all of these are all like one-shot stories that don't necessarily. I haven't encountered one yet that's had any kind of like huge implications, like you're saying, like a retcon or anything like that. They've always been just kind of like light reading inside stories.
So, I think the biggest thing about this issue, if I'm being completely honest, is this is a really fun tribute to the podcast J.M. Miles Explain the X-Men.
Gotcha.
If you don't listen to the podcast, and I'm only listening to like the first 60 or so issues or episodes of their podcast. They've got like 300 or 400. But if you don't know the show, there's a lot of like funny like inside jokes in here that you're not going to get.
Gotcha.
And that's difficult. You can't really let that, unless that's being explained to you, you can't really let that ride on the success of the book. You know, like why would someone pick that up unless they knew that, you know?
Right. I mean,
but so for me as a fan of the show, I loved it. I thought it was awesome, and I really enjoyed like the little, the little allusions to like inside jokes from the show.
Gotcha.
But I can't say that overall this is going to be a perfect issue for everybody if you.
Oh no.
The show.
I don't think any of the snapshots. I'll go back to this. Out of all the snapshots that I've read, this one was fun for me. Like I did enjoy it. But for me, like out of all the snapshots currently, and I talk about it every time we ever get an opportunity to talk about snapshot series, the Captain America one has probably been the best one because it's so topical with what's going on right now in the world, and it came out of nowhere, and so I wasn't necessarily expecting that out of this book. I did enjoy it. I thought it was fun to kind of just get a little bit of a deeper dive into Cyclops' history and just seeing what he went through as a kid. Even though it might not be necessarily like 100% to the T of what it originally was, I enjoyed it. But again, for right now, like my top snapshots issue has been Captain America because that one's just so fucking good. Like I literally, and I read that one prior to starting the show, but I would definitely put that as my pick of week that week. It was really good. But this one was fun too.
Yeah.
I mean, and the other thing I like about this series is they're all Alex Ross covers, so no brainer. So there's Marvel Snapshots X-Men. Next up, Sir Kate's Thor.
Sounds like it.
Yo. We'll just talk about the cover while he's gone. So this cover, if we were doing picks of the week for just based off of cover, this is in the top 3 this week. I absolutely love this cover. It's just so like, wait, what? If you're not reading Thor right now and you saw this cover, I'm pretty sure you'd be like, wait, what the hell's going on in this issue? So again, if we were picking by covers, this one's probably one of the zaniest covers. So yeah, this one, written by Donny Cates, of course. It's not done by our typical artist, right? It's not done by, what's his name? Can't hear you.
Nick Klein.
Nick Klein. This is done by Aaron Cooter. So we're finally done with not finally done. We're done with the Blackest Winter, right? Black Winter. Yes. And so we're kind of transitioning. We're getting a two books without our main artist. And what we get here is we get a playful drinking buddy story here. Basically, Thor invites Beta Ray Bill to have a drink / meal and talk over what happened in the previous issues, which is Thor beat the shit out of Beta Ray Bill during Galactus's power-up moment against Black Winter. And Thor is kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily apologizing, but just being like, hey man, let's just get over it. Like, don't worry that I beat the shit out of you because I need to ask you a big favor. But what happens here is before this happens, Thor has thrown his hammer back down to Earth to Oklahoma.
Yep.
And it has landed in a ex-convict's backyard. A guy that's basically just trying to get back onto his feet, not really, trying not to like piss anybody off, and it lands in his backyard, and he's like, ah, shit, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And Thor's hammer has fallen from from the heavens, and on the hammer we have call Tony Stark with an actual phone number. And I'll just tell you right now, this is my pick of the week. And I think the main reason why this is my pick of the week is because it actually has that phone number actually works. You can call the phone number, you can call Tony Stark, and it'll give you his voicemail, and he'll tell you, this is not my phone number anymore because Thor's an asshole, and everyone's calling me. Which that's partially why this is my pick of the week. But anyway, this guy calls Tony Stark saying, hey, just want to let you know, there's this hammer in the middle of my backyard, and it's telling me to call you. And Tony has no fucking clue what's going on, but when he shows up to see it, he's like, oh, that asshole. So it's a callback to the first book in this series where Thor is essentially retired from the Avengers, and Tony scribed on the hammer, you're retired now, basically, like Tony Stark, like love kisses. And I don't think it pissed off Thor, but he's like, all right, I'm going to use this later for my advantage, and he does. So what's going on is Thor is he's basically running a test. Ever since the first issue of Donny Cates' Thor has expressed that Mjolnir is becoming heavier and heavier every day. And he doesn't know why. He doesn't know if it's the hammer, if the hammer's basically telling Thor that he's unworthy anymore, or if there's just something else going on. So he's trying to test it out. So he threw the hammer to Earth, and he's trying to prove a theory. And while he's doing this, while this theory is going on, he's having drinks with Beta Ray Bill, and he's kind of telling him, hey, look, I'm sorry what happened with us, but I kind of need you to do me a favor. And Beta Ray is kind of going like, yeah, what are you asking me? Why are you doing this? And then he kind of gives him the explanation of what's going on with Mjolnir, but he also, I don't know if he does or not, but he has a flashback to what he saw or what the Black Winter showed him, which is Thanos with Mjolnir and the Infinity Stones on it and Marvel zombies behind him.
Right.
And so he's just concerned. He, if it's true that the Black Winter shows your death and what's going to happen, Thor's freaking out. Like he's, wouldn't you freak out if you saw a resurrected Thanos with Mjolnir in his hands with the Infinity Stones and a Black Gauntlet on the other hand with Marvel zombies? I would.
A little bit.
So back on Earth, our boy Adam, who's where the hammer fell, he's just kind of looking at the hammer, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Tony's trying to figure out what's going on. He knows that nobody can pick it up, so this is just like a big, more of a big fuck you from Thor rather than an actual situation in his mind. And so while Tony's trying to figure out what to do, he puts like an energy field around the hammer, and Adam gets stuck in there with it. And Adam kind of looks at it and goes, you know what? Fuck it. I'm pick it up. I'm just going to try. Let's see what happens. And at the end of the issue...
on there, it says pick it up.
Yeah, it does say pick it up. That's right. So, if you saw that, you'd do it, right? You'd give it a shot.
Why not?
So Adam does it, and he picks it up. And he actually picks up the hammer, and he gets transformed into Adam Thor, I guess.
I don't know.
It looked kind of... I definitely like the character design for sure. But anyway, he picked it up, and that's how it gets laid off, is Iron Man sees basically the birth of a new Thor. And Thor is up in Asgard going like, I knew it. I fucking knew it. And we don't know what he knows, but whatever he was trying to prove came true, in that something's up with Mjolnir. We don't know if it's, the rules of Thor have changed, like anybody can pick this thing up, or if there's something specifically going on. So that's where our cliffhanger ends. Again, it's Donnie, classic Donnie, just kind of throwing all the conventional rules out the window. I know it seems easy, but I enjoy it, and I really enjoy his writing. And again, he hasn't let me down yet. I enjoyed it. I really liked it.
I'm over it.
You're over it?
I'm over whatever this whole thing is with something wrong with Mjolnir. I don't know if I'm worthy again. Jason Aaron did that for 2 years with Mighty Thor, with Jane Foster becoming Thor. We just.
But do you think? But do you think that's what it is? Do you think that's what it is?
I don't care though. Like we just did the something's wrong with the hammer. I can't pick it up. I don't know what it is. I don't care if it's not the same thing as like he's unworthy. Maybe it's Mjolnir's running out of power and it needs to be recharged. Or I don't care. We just did this with Jason Aaron. Like I just don't care. That's just me personally. But
do you not care enough to continue to not pick it up?
Well, no, of course I'll pick it up. I'm just saying that, like, I'm personally not super excited about this part of where we're going in the story.
I see what you're saying.
I'm also not interested at all in Donald Blake, which is where we're going after this one is over. So,
oh my God. Well, who knows, dude? Who knows? It might actually
be picking the book up. But
I know.
I just don't intrigued right now.
I don't think you should just slam the door on it. You know, like
slamming the door would be not picking it up.
It's like it's not like it's. It's not like it's Al Ewing's Guardians of the Galaxy, which has just been like.
That's fine.
See, I guess what I'm trying to say is I want you to be as passionate about fighting for the book that you like to read as much as I'm as passionate about it. Because like I tell you I hate Guardians and you're like, yeah, no, that's fine. And then you're over here like,
I agree, because you're not as invested in that kind of stuff as I am. That's fine.
But I want to be.
Then you got to put the effort in. That's all I gotta tell you.
Anyway, if you're not picking up Thor right now, you're a dummy. Because anything Donny Cates is writing right now, you should be picking up. Just like you should be picking up Boom Studios #1s. Treat Donny Cates, all of his books with Marvel, or any of his books, to be absolutely honest, just pick them up. Like, what's $4? So, anyway, we're
400 pennies.
Yeah, correct. Anyway. Next up, all right, I will be quick on this one, but I will just tell you right now, this one was super fun. It's a continuation from the Spider-Man main line right now, and we just kind of get an more depth look of what's going on with our other Spider characters. Basically, what we find out is, at the beginning of the Spider-Man, actual Spider-Man book series, he had been getting these nightmares of Kindred. Fucking with him and essentially killing him. And he's been getting nightmares about the Goblin doing something to him. Well, it comes to find out that all these other Spider characters, Silk, Spider-Woman, Gwen Stacy, Miles, they've had similar dreams about Peter Parker being murdered by the Green Goblin. So that's why they're trying to stop Peter. They've all had this recurring nightmare that the Goblin is going to kill Peter. But in this book right now, Peter's trying to save the Goblin from Sin Eater. So there's a lot of conflicting things going on here. So we find out that, again, our Spider group is trying essentially to save Parker because they have seen the future in their own realities of him dying. Not necessarily in the same place, but by the same hands, which is the Green Goblin. So it's a back and forth of them talking about their experiences and getting ready to go stop Parker, while Parker's actually saving Norman. They're going through Ravencroft, trying to dodge Sin Eater junkies and goons left and right. And the whole time, Spidey is telling Norman, like, dude, we're in this together, man. I don't give a shit what you think. Like, I've got your back now. I'm saving your life. And the entire time, Norman's like, dude, I don't need your help. Leave me the fuck alone. He goes, I've got an ace up my sleeve. Like, you don't even know. So as we're doing this, we're seeing the actual Sin Eater charging through Ravencroft, but there's something off. So we know that Sin Eater has been, when he resolves people's sins, he takes away their sins, but if they're bad guys and they actually have superpowers, he takes those as well, right? What we find out is one of the powers he absorbed was from Negative Man. I think that's his name. Who is this, like, real hardcore baddie that can, like, turn people into, like, super strength, nasty guys, and he can absorb things and just, he's a crazy dude. Well, he took that power. So now he's going through Ravencroft using that power as well. So Sin Eater is becoming this insanely OP enemy. He's got multiple powers from multiple bad guys. So when Norman and Spidey find this out, Norman reveals his ace card up his sleeve, and we come to find out that Ravencroft has a very special inmate, and he releases that inmate. And who is it? It's the fucking Juggernaut. Juggernaut is in Ravencroft, and he is let loose right in front of the Sin Eater, and Sin Eater promptly shoots him with the shotgun. So we are left assuming that the Sin Eater now has the powers of the Juggernaut.
How exactly does that work?
I don't know.
Because Juggernaut doesn't have his own powers. He doesn't get them from the...
You're correct.
...thing.
But we are left... This issue leaves us to believe that something from the stone was absorbed by Sin Eater.
When did Juggernaut go insane?
I don't know. But he was locked up there, and Norman released him, and even Spider-Man was like, "Wait, no!" And Sin Eater goes, "Oh, cool, boom!" Like, so what I take from this is we know we're getting a Juggernaut number 1 next week, or this coming week, and in the premise, it's like Juggernaut's good now, and he's trying to be reformed, and he's not technically a mutant. So I think this is how they're crossing into it. I think we're gonna get a Sin Eater drop in Juggernaut, which I think is kind of cool because I'm reading the book. Anyway, after that doesn't work, Spidey and Norman continue to go further into the depths of Ravencroft, and we find out that Norman has been gearing up to actually dress up like the Goblin. He's got a ton of... This is awesome. You're frozen. There's a ton of...
nice. That's a great frozen part.
Yeah. He's been gearing up to be the Goblin again. So it looks like we're going to get a Norman Osborn, Spider-Man, and the Spider team up to fight off the Sin Eater and Kindred. So that's kind of where this ends. Like, you see a bunker open, and there's a shit ton of like goblin or pumpkin grenades, and then the Goblin suit. So Spidey's kind of like, "Oh, you motherfucker, you're gonna be the Goblin again." So this is how this issue ends. Pretty cool. Artwork is great, and then I freaking love this variant cover. I didn't pick up cover A. I picked up this cover, and I'm very glad I did. So that is Spider-Man: The Sins of Norman Osborn. Next up is another book that you didn't pick up, but I am a huge Iron Man fan, and that is Iron Man number 1. This, in a nutshell, is back to basics. No more brothers and robot revolution, and then this is straight up Marvel getting back to basics with Iron Man. Tony in this book has sold off all of his investment into Stark Industries, which is I think in the book it's like $175 billion or something like that. It's just a stupid amount of money. In this book, he basically like buys a shit ton of like old school hot rod cars and tries to race them, and ends up losing a shit ton of money. And he ends up having a party with all the investors of Stark Industries, just to kind of like, it's like a last little like farewell, fuck you. And throughout this entire issue, we get Iron Man constantly tweeting on Twitter, and people just kind of like dog shitting all over him, like, Iron Man sucks, he breaks the city, blah blah blah, like all this fun stuff. But at one point, Iron Man runs into Hellcat. I think her name is. Let me look. It's She-Hulk's Hellcat. So he runs into Hellcat, and they both he kind of like flirts with her, and she's like, "Yo, don't do anything stupid, but you want to go out tonight and like go have some fun. Do you want to go vigilante out in the streets?" And he's kind of like, "Yeah, sure." So when they go out, he basically shows her his new armor, and they go out and have some fun. And in doing this, they end up catching somebody breaking into, I think, a library. And in the library is, again, I'm not very well versed in old school Iron Man bad guys, but the bad guy that shows up in this book, he's like stealing a book, and the name of the character is called Unicorn. Never heard of him. But I get
big.
Is he
pretty like not pretty big, but like a pretty like classic kind of like, if you're a hardcore Iron Man person, you know who he is.
Gotcha. Well, I'm assuming that's going to be like this entire series is going to be just old school Iron Man villains. So anyway, he's stealing some kind of book, and it's actually the book is it's a Bible, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta look for it. Reference text. What is the book? It's like an original printing of a Bible. Oh, come on. Gutenberg Bible.
Oh, okay. That's the one that's in all the that's in hotels.
Okay. So he's stealing an original Gutenberg Bible. And they end up defeating Unicorn, but the whole time Unicorn's like, you're going to pay, like, my master's, he wants this, you're a heretic, you're not going to live through this, blah, blah, blah. But they steal it anyway. And prior to this, in the party, Tony gets, basically, he gets approached by a scientist, I guess, that works at Stark Industries. And he's like, I got something that I want to talk to you about before you end up leaving this party. And he's like, yeah, what is it? And the guy goes, well, listen, I figured out a way to capture lightning. And Tony's like, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous. And he goes, I can capture lightning strikes, the energy equivalent of an atomic blast, and store it indefinitely within a supercapacitor that makes it like a lithium battery, like a chunk of wood. So he says this to Tony in passing at a party, and Tony's like, yeah, whatever, cool. I gotta go, peace. So when they beat Unicorn, and he's got the Bible, he's like, oh sweet, I got the Bible. Let's take it back to where we need to take it. And mid sentence, he gets blasted by lightning. And in the process of him getting blasted by lightning, the Gutenberg Bible gets incinerated. So after everything goes down, Tony tweets, I know that one with the 21 existing Gutenberg Bibles was destroyed in the battle with Unicorn, but there was really nothing I could do. And then people tweet back at him. He goes, blast with me, I love it. And then someone else goes, Iron Man sucks. And then the other one goes, this one person goes, is Hellcat single? And then someone posts a meme of Tony, but he's fat, and he goes, fat Tony into house. And then promptly it says, Iron Man has deleted his account. So he is no longer using social media. And then we get a shot of the scientist looking from the balcony or from a window. What happened? He basically struck Tony with the lightning, and he's getting ready to basically be like, you shunned me, now I'm going to be a bad guy. Me. So that's how this book ends, and we'll go into the next one. But again, what I get from this is we're getting away from the very complex Tony Stark story arcs, and we're back to single, flirting with every female, fighting bad guys. We're not getting into like complex storylines. This is just back to the basic Iron Man, and I'm kind of in it. I'm into it. Like I like it because that's what I remember Iron Man as. And I remember when I asked you about the Iron Man 2020 event, and you were telling me about it, and I was like, wait, what? It was just out there. And this is just more of like a classic take on Iron Man, which, I kind of hope like later on down the road we get, War Machine and all that jazz. But I like it, but I'm a huge Iron Man fan, so I had fun with it. Yeah, I don't think you would have enjoyed it. God, another book. Immortal Hulk number 37. All right, I'll get real to the point with this one. We were introduced to the leader 35 in issue 35 or 34. I think it was 35. And what we find out in this book is the leader has found a way to use the green door to transport himself into other radioactive beings. So he can possess Dr. Fry, who's on the cover right here. That's what he does. He possesses Dr. Fry's body, and he ends up killing a lot of people in the dark base or whatever it's called. But he's also basically used the door to get into anybody that's ever been infected with gamma radiation, which is huge, right? And his end game in this book basically is to take over one of the Hulk's personalities. And so what we find out is this whole time he's been jumping bodies left and right. At the end of this issue, he gets into the Planet Hulk's body. So the leader has taken control of the Planet Hulk's. Yeah, dude, it's fucking nuts.
I understand.
It's weird, dude.
Understand.
But in this book, what we find out is there's another door. There's not just the green door. The leader hints to the red door, which is the Red Hulk. Like, the leader has got some messed up shit going on in here. But basically, in this issue, the leader has shown his cards to a certain somebody, which is it's one of Hulk's allies. Samson. Yeah, Samson. So he ends up killing him, and he kills him to the point where he can't come back to life. But in doing this, he tells Samson, like, oh yeah, I can jump bodies. Anyone that's ever been had any kind of gamma radiation affiliation to them, I can jump into their consciousness and body and take over their body. So he's been leaping bodies just to get to the Hulk, and the issue ends with him jumping bodies to the point where he jumps into. Yeah, I don't know if you can see this. That's the leader taking over Planet Hulk's body.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the leader is about to fucking throw. And I have a feeling we're going to see the leader in Immortal She-Hulk, #1. I think he's going to be a heavy player in that one-off that we're about to get next week. And I would not be surprised if she ends up showing up in the Immortal Hulk. But the leader is up to no good at all in the Immortal Hulk issues. And I started at issue 35. I'm slowly reading the hardcovers. But dude, Al Ewing, again, I don't like his Guardians, but this is fucking awesome. And I highly recommend it. Anyway, that's a lot of fun. And then there was another issue that came out that I didn't put on the list, but there was a reprint of Banner's father.
Yeah.
Anyway, it shows basically
Ryan,
maybe it shows what happens is I think there's a total of like 7 or 8 pages that in between the reprints show the leader where he started his influence of jumping green doors, and he started with Hulk's dad, and so that's what that happened in that issue. That's what happens. So you're supposed to read that first, and then you read this, and it shows him basically saying, "All right, I'm starting with you, and I'm going to jump from your consciousness to this person to this is just to get to Bruce."
So, like back in issue 5 of Immortal Hulk, whenever Sasquatch is like possessed, and then his dad shows up, and he's all like an asshole. That's really the leader.
It's what it looks like. Body. That's what it looks like. So it's insane. Like, I think Ewing's about to tie this thing with the bow, and I'm all in on it. I'm all in on it. So there's that. Next up. All right. You gotta tell me what you thought. Darth Vader, #5.
I'm done.
You're done?
Yeah, I'm done.
So, yeah, what we get here is it's just Darth Vader is just sulking. That's all this is. He's just really sad. And I'm not saying that's not right. I mean, I'm not saying that's not wrong. Like, you can do what you want to, if you want to have a pity party, but I had so much more expectation for this series, and I just don't feel like outside of the first issue, it hasn't really been anything.
Is this the same artist that we've had on this book the whole time?
I think so.
It seems like all of a sudden he completely forgot how to draw faces. Like, let me see if I can find the Anakin screaming one. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
What is that?
Ah!
What is that face? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So basically, we get like a history lesson again.
Can you see it again?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the choking. She doesn't look right. I think I'm with you. I think I think I might pull the plug.
Yeah. So this, and I thought this was supposed to wrap up this story arc. Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh wow, you were just being really still. I thought you were frozen. This was supposed to. I thought this was supposed to wrap up the story arc.
No.
And apparently, there's one more issue where he's going to get tortured by the Emperor, and like, I don't.
I think it's more than one more issue, dude. Because
Is it?
I think so. Because let's just get to the premise. He finds Padme's body, or her tomb. She goes in. It's kind of locked. He gets some kind of like digital USB, if you will. Yeah. And it shows us what happened, which is, she died, and she's like, name this one Luke, and name this one Leia. Okay. I did like, though, I will say, after that whole thing, he ends up going to a coordinate that thing gave him, and he ends up killing a shit ton of rebels, which I thought was kind of cool. Single-handedly. Well, no, that's not true. He has shock troopers shoot down their ships, but all in all, yeah, I don't feel like there's a lot of cohesiveness in this. We still haven't, like, the whole point of this was to find the people that turned Luke the way he turned, and right now it's all been a sulking party about Padme. And now, after issue 2, when we find out that it's actually not Padme, like Padme died and it's just one of her servants, I've had no interest in this book.
That's exactly right.
And that sucks. I don't want to say that. I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but I got to be truthful. It's just not hitting. Though I will say that in the December solicitations, I think I tried to call you. You didn't pick up. I think you were asleep. The cover of that issue is Darth Vader sitting in front of what was supposed to be the like all-omnipotent Sith God from the last movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I saw that and I was like, I probably won't pick it up because I bet you that's a red herring. There's probably nothing going to happen. And to be absolutely honest right now, I'm kind of looking at it like, I think I'm just going to read this when it comes out on Marvel Limited. Like,
that's exactly what my thought was.
Because there are other books coming out soon that I'd rather pick up. Like new ongoing series or something that I want to get into. So I think issue 5, I know we're not really getting into it, but there's not really much to get into. He's just really sad about, it was really sad about Padme and the Emperor's like, well, you didn't really accomplish anything. So now I'm going to give you a spanking. That's what's coming up next. It was a total downer.
I honestly think it took me 3 minutes to read this issue. Like it was so quick. Like I'm okay with an action-packed issue that doesn't have a lot of dialogue. I'm okay with that. As a matter of fact, in a Darth Vader book, I would prefer it.
Right.
But it's just, it feels very inconsequential, and I don't feel like it goes anywhere. This entire arc, you're right. Since the beginning of the second issue, we find out that it's her handmaiden. I'm just like, I just don't really care.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hate to say that. I really do, because I know we try to be... No, we try it. Our strive for this show is to be positive and to just review books and be like, yo, this is awesome. But this book ain't it. It sucks. It sucks that we have to say that, but it's just not hitting. So, sorry, Darth Vader. I think I'm going to have to pull you off my pull list.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up. Not on my... Hold on. What did I do? 1? There we go. Okay, another book that I'm reading that you're not reading. So I picked this up strictly because it's a tie-in to death metal, and I'm getting literally sucked into that event. I'm enjoying it a lot, and so I decided to pick it up. And what we have here is we have Nightwing and Hawkgirl trying to figure out a way to save everybody because everybody's stuck in their crisis events right now, and they're the only ones kind of left on Earth. Or not all of them, but they're the main 2 that we're following. And what we find out is the key to potentially getting our heroes back together that are stuck in the infinite crisis or crisis events is getting at this Perpetua god that they've been fighting since the original death metal or Dark Knights event. And what we come to find out is Perpetua's throne is being powered by the original Legion of Doom. And so in order to kind of take her power out, they need to go save the original Legion of Doom. And they need to go find somebody in order to do that. And the one person they have to go find is Lex Luthor, who they don't trust. Nobody trusts Lex. And so he tells them basically that the Legion of Doom is what's powering her throne. It's part of her power. But if you want to go save her, you're going to end up having to fight some really nasty people. And we get another new Dark Knight, and they're called Omega Knights. And the Omega Knight is basically their version of Celestials. It's just like a giant earth-shattering being that can just destroy worlds. And so Perpetua has these Omega Knights guarding her throne. So that's one thing that they have to go fight against. And the other thing they have to go fight is a Batman who is melded together with Batman in the Martian Manhunter, which is another, that's basically DC's version of Vision, I assume. Like, he's just, he can phase through walls, he can shoot lasers. He's Vision. So we find out that's what we get a backstory of what they have to do. This is a 5-part series, so it's setting up who they have to go save, Legion of Doom, and who they're going to be fighting. And so in the next issue, they're going to be fighting the Batman that's basically the Martian Batman. And he's OP, so we don't know how they're going to do it. So that's this issue in a nutshell. What I will say is these tie-ins have been extremely entertaining, and I compare them to Empire, because the Empire tie-ins, there were maybe three series that were really good, and then the rest were just like throw something on the wall and see how it works. And I will give DC credit. Every tie-in that I have read, I have been thoroughly entertained. Again, I don't know a lot about DC, but I have had so much fun reading them. So I will be continuing to pick up this 5-part series of Justice League, and this will probably be the only Justice League I ever pick up, but it's really fun. So if you're reading Death Metal and you're kind of skipping on the tie-ins, I recommend that you don't do that. I recommend that you do pick up the tie-ins, because I have not been failed yet on any DC tie-in for Death Metal. I've always been like, hell yeah, that was awesome. I've never been a DC fan, and this is making me more and more wanting to read DC. And I know that DC comic books aren't typically like this, so I just really like this event a lot. So that's why I've been picking them up. So that's Justice League 53, the Dark Knight's Death Metal tie-in. All right, you go talk now.
Okay. So this one actually is wrapping up the first arc of Star Wars, the Destiny Path.
Okay.
Basically, the first issue of this takes up, right after Luke gets his hand cut off and he loses his lightsaber, and so they're on the Millennium Falcon, basically like, oh shit, we got to go get Han, and Luke's like, but I need a lightsaber, and so he goes off. He gets a vision from the Force of Jedi in hiding, basically.
Oh, okay.
That he's got to go find, and that she's going to lead him to a lightsaber. And at the end of the previous issue, she finds out he's Darth Vader's son, so she's like, oh, well, he's been hunting me, and so fuck you, and traps him in a tank, and he's starting to drown. And R2-D2 in this issue ends up saving him, which is funny because it's classic R2-D2.
Yeah.
But really, what this issue is about is getting a lightsaber in Luke's hands. That's really all they're trying to do.
And it's yellow?
And it's yellow. So the one thing that I really enjoyed about this issue is we're starting to get... we're bringing in some of the High Republic stuff that we've heard, a lot about. That's supposed to be the next phase.
Okay.
So she's basically like, listen, I don't want anything to do with the Force. I don't want anything to do with helping you become a Jedi. You're going to die. This is where it's at. Please go away and never come back and never see me again. And he's like, okay, I just want a lightsaber, so bye. And so they travel to this planet that has like a ancient Jedi temple on it, and it's got the that like High Council logo on it. I don't know. It's like the wings with the lightsaber in the middle. And he walks in, and it's got a bunch of old High Republic stuff. There's a holocron sitting on the table, and then he's like, "Oh look, there's a lightsaber. I'm a Jedi now, yay!" And as soon as he picks it up, he gets attacked by I cannot remember what they're called. They're that secret organization of Darth Vader's, like sisters or something like that.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
One of those guys is like
Inquisitors.
Perpetually on Inquisitors. Yes, exactly that. One of the Inquisitors shows up, and he's like perpetually on fire, which is really strange. And he's like, "Haha, I've got you now," and they fight really quickly, and then it cuts to a quick scene of Darth Vader like, "Oh, I can feel it. Let's go!" Like
I just went poop.
I don't know. It feels really cheesy, but then there's a super badass fight between Luke and the Inquisitor. At one point they're locked in a lightsaber battle, and the guy goes Darth Maul on him and like pulls out a second sword and then like almost cuts him in half.
Oh shit!
Destroys the holocron. But then at the last minute, Luke cuts his hand off and then cuts him in half, which is very un-Luke. Oh, and also he can force push now, which I didn't realize Luke even had that power in Return of the Jedi. So
comics.
Yeah. It's cool, but it's so. I mean, he cuts this guy's hands off. He cuts him in half, and he's like, "Okay, bye. I got a lightsaber. It's yellow." And then he gets in his ship and he flies away. And then Darth Vader shows up, and the Inquisitor is there again, and he's still on fire. And Darth Vader's like, or what is he? The guy says, "I have served for a long time. Do you think there will ever be a chance for release?" And Darth Vader says, "You're but a tool shaped to serve my purpose. You will continue." And the guy just stands there in flames and is like, "I guess there are worse things than death." So I guess somehow this guy is being held in prisoner to guard this Jedi temple from people that would take artifacts from it, even though he literally didn't do his job, because he walked in, was like, "Oh cool, you got a lightsaber. Oh, okay, bye."
Bye.
Like, so
are you considering dropping this as well?
So this issue was much better than Darth Vader. It had shows of High Republic. It had a really good battle in it. It was at least somewhat intriguing. And I am also dropping it.
Ooh.
For sure. I am just not that invested in these stories right now, which is hard for me to say because I actually got into comics back in November because of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I just wanted more Star Wars stories, and
These aren't the Star Wars stories you're looking for.
I guess you could say that.
Damn, I just dropped that, dude.
Dropping it out of nowhere. So I think once this comes out in trade or maybe a hardcover or something, I think I'll go and pick it up and read the story. Darth Vader, I'll probably just do unlimited and not worry about it. But I like where this story is going. I like what they're building up to. So this story arc is over. The next story arc is, what is I can't remember the blue guy's name. Tarkin, I think. His successor on the Empire side is about to have a big giant ship duel standoff with Princess Leia in the next issue, which I think will be fun. I'm just not interested right now. Yeah, I would rather drop this and be able to pick up the Juggernaut miniseries and then some other things.
Yeah, get ready for King in Black.
Get ready for King in Black. So it was good, but it wasn't good enough to keep on the list.
Gotcha. All right, well, there's Star Wars. All right, next up. Ooh. So we technically got this issue to read early, but we both declined to read it early because we wanted to be surprised. And I think, you could probably call this like Seven Secrets Surprise, because that's what this book is. So we finally get to meet the child that was born out of secrecy from the first issue, who is named Casper. And basically what this book is his montage, what's the word? When you're montage, right? Is that the word?
Montage.
So it's basically Casper being his training montage.
Yep.
He's being taught by the assassins, or not the assassins, the holders and protectors of the Seven Secrets. And so he's basically learning all of his skills in this book. I learned how to be secret from this guy. I learned all my history from this guy, and blah, blah, blah. But midway through the book, we come to find out that his parents are the only ones that have not been teaching him anything, because they can't technically be in contact with him because they don't want him to find out that they're his parents, because it's forbidden. But at one point he gets bullied and gets his ass kicked, and his mom's like, nope, that's not gonna work. So she beats up the bully and goes, all right, I'm going to teach you how to fight properly. And so the mom ends up teaching Casper how to fight and how to be quick and fast. And same with the father. The father kind of teaches him how to be evasive and how to, throw a proper punch, essentially. But through this whole time, while Casper is being trained by his parents, he doesn't know that they're his parents, right? And this whole time, we're basically in the past in this book. So Casper's talking about like, well, this is what happened, and all this past tense stuff. And toward the ends of the book, we find out what happened in issue 1, which is his dad got killed. And so it's revealed to him that his dad, what's the guy's name? Eager. It's some weird like Icelandic name.
Sigurd.
Sigurd. Casper finds out that Sigurd is his dad because he died. And it's super.
He knew he was his dad. He knew.
Did he?
His parents. Yeah.
During the training?
Yeah, remember when he gives him the little bird?
The way I took that was he didn't know until after he died.
No, I mean he literally says, he says, listen carefully. You don't need to stay here. You can be whatever you want to be. And then Casper says, but I can't be your son, can I? And he says, it's not that. I just can't be your father.
Gotcha. I thought he was I thought they were saying that like, can you be my dad? That kind of thing. No.
No. He knew that was his parents.
So he finds out that he dies, and he's totally torn apart by it. And at the end of the book, we find out Casper says the shittiest part about this story is that I don't even live towards the end. And to me, that is huge. Like, hey, here's our main character. And by the way, he's going to die halfway through the book. We're already telling you that. So issue 2 ends with us finding out that Casper's going to die. Like, he is not long for this series. And we just got introduced to him. And the other thing that gets dropped in that is this all happens. He says it like, he says something like, it's like big. It's a huge thing. He goes, let's see. Gotta pull it out here. He goes, I'm so glad I got to spend time with my father, like after he dies, before he was taken away. That was the end of my childhood. And that was the moment it all changed. Before the trials, before the betrayal, before the fall, before the first secret was unleashed, before the great evil. And then he goes on to say, there was no flying away after that. It's strange to be the one telling this story, especially because I don't make it to the end. And you're like, whoa. But the big thing that I caught from that is before the fall, before the first secret was unleashed. Now, I picked up the Seven Secrets, like, what's it called technically? The
spoiler variant.
Spoiler variant, and it's the seventh secret, or the first secret being unleashed. And our first secret that's being held is with a character that's in this book that trains Casper. It's this guy that's like a redhead that's wearing like a French or carnival mask. Can't see his face. and he's the one that holds the secret. So we got to assume that he is the great betrayer that unleashes that secret. So we get a lot in this book of foreshadowing of what's about to happen. There's going to be a fall. That guy is going to basically, we would assume, is going to betray the order and reveal the first secret, and it's a great evil. Crazy shit.
So I think so. This was my pick of the week. I'll just go ahead and put that out there. I think Tom Taylor does an amazing job at interweaving. Again, I'm going to say this every week, but doing a straight up Lost style where you get here's 2 answers and here's 5 questions, and it always keeps you coming back for more. What I like even more is that the questions that you get are so open-ended that you and I can come to radically different points. Because see, I didn't, and again, we're only speculating on what can actually be happening. We're not being told, but I did not get at all that the mask guy was going to be a betrayer. I didn't like that.
You didn't get that.
I did not get that at all. It didn't seem like that's what they were saying. But I mean, I get it before the betrayal. It just didn't seem like that was hinting at the betrayal from him.
Within. Yeah.
And so, but it's an easy motif to say before the trials. You go, well, shit, what's the trials? Before the betrayal, who's the betrayer? Like that's easy to do, but like it keeps you engaged and it keeps you wanting more.
Right.
And I also am very convinced that Caspar either doesn't die or comes back quite quickly. And the reason why I say that is, so he's telling the story through like a first-person narrative, right? But he can't. So how is he telling us the story as a first-person narrative as he's dead? If he's dead, I think what he's saying is good.
You think his dad will come back to life then?
Maybe
through the secrets.
But I hadn't thought of that.
And maybe he's a bad guy. Okay, sorry.
I think that's way too far of a stretch. Yeah,
you never know.
But he says it's strange to be the one telling the story since I don't make it to the end. I don't know that he necessarily means the end of the story of this book, 7 Secrets. I think he means the story as far as he knows it. And so, but either way, this is super Stephen King-esque. Stephen King loves to have like a 600-page book, and then on page like 120, he's like, well, it would have been great if he had known it was his last meal on Earth. But then the guy doesn't die for 400 pages. You know? And so you're like, wait, what? And so every page turn, you're expecting this guy to instantly die, and he doesn't. And so I think that's a really good. Tom Taylor just does a really good. I feel like he would be a good prose writer because he takes up a lot of these world-setting elements.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm going to continue to pick up this book. I'm really glad I got number 1. I'm glad I got the secret variant. I'm glad I'm invested in this. Do
you have number 1? You have issue 1? This book?
What?
Do you have issue 1 of this book?
What? Issue 1 of what? What? Anyway. No, I'm just glad. This is what I wish Darth Vader was. You know, I wish this was Darth Vader. I wish Darth Vader had this kind of intrigue. And I think that's just the beauty of independent comics. You can just do whatever the fuck you want and break rules. And I mean, our last 2 books are independent comics, and they're both just really fun. So this is 7 Secrets number 2. 3 books, yes. And I cannot wait to pick up more. Again, we say it every week when these books come out. Pick up Boom Studio books. You will not regret it, whether it's for a collecting or if it's for a good story. Either way, it's a banger, bro. Next book, Big Girls 2. I enjoyed this one, not as much as 1. Yeah. I think 1 was like we were up, and now I'm not saying we're declining on this book. I think we're slowly building, right? And in this one, we get a little bit more. We get introduced to a couple new more characters. We get introduced to the dynamic between characters. maybe kind of the brutality of it all, and kind of why, should you be questioning the brutality of the whole situation? And I think that's what we're dealing with our main character in Ember. Anyway, so what we find out, in the previous issue, she was being ambushed by two massive monsters, and she gets two allies that show up and save her ass, basically. And they take out the two of her allies take out the monsters pretty quickly. And afterwards, she goes in for testing, and I'm kind of foggy on it. But what I got was just more world building in this issue.
Yeah. So I felt like Jason Howard went all in on his analogies and allegories on issue 1, and I think he probably sat down and looked at issue 1 and goes, "Shit, I need some giant fighting kaiju monsters in this next issue," and so he went really over the top with that. I super don't give a shit about giant fighting kaiju monsters, and so this issue was kind of it was weaker for me, but that's my fault. Like, this book very much presents itself as giant fighting kaiju monsters.
Like, yep. Yeah.
That's not the
big girls too fighting monsters.
But yeah, I think that the allegory of this entire book kind of took a back seat. It was still there. This is very much a book about ethics. At one point, whenever they one of the monsters, or one of the big boys, gets basically cut in half and then lands on a building awkward to where they can't get his pieces out. And so the guy's like, "All right, just torch the whole block."
Yeah, like, the director.
"Yeah, but there's still people here," and he's like, "I said torch the fucking block."
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah, there's still definitely a moral dilemma.
Yeah, there's still definitely a moral dilemma, and I think it's showing that, like, maybe these big girls, maybe at least Ember is not like 100% on board.
Yeah, she's not all in for sure.
And we got glimpses of that in the first issue, but we're still building that up. I remember that there was a little bit with the dad of the boy that dies at the end too.
Yeah, and that's for me. I'm still trying to figure out. So there's this group of women that are basically breeding the big boys, and that's the question. That's the biggest underlining question is why. Like, we've got a group of women, especially their leader, that wants to take out the big girls. Like, her mission is to kill them, and you're kind of going like, well, why? So that's our cliffhanger. Is she wants to kill basically the agency, I'm assuming, that they're a part of, and the big girls.
Well, and you can imagine that she was probably a mother that lost a son as well, and is kind of out on a vendetta. At one point, she shows the dad. I can't remember his name. It's Martin's dad. Shows him that there actually is a big giant kaiju monster that is being tame with its mother still. They refer to them as the Jacks. She says the Jacks don't have to be mindless killers. There is more possible than the preserve will actually admit. And then they show this giant, massive, 200-foot tall Jack being really gentle with its mother. And really, I think what that brings to the forefront is, like, who's good here, who's bad, like, and I think it's ambiguous on purpose.
Yeah. Well, I think there's going to be I think there's definitely a gray, a definite gray area, where there's not really the definition of good and bad is going to be so blurred, and I think that's Ember's. That's her internal conflict throughout this entire book, I think.
Well, yes, and I think right now we're seeing two players on either side. You've got the director who is protect the barrier at all costs and is super black and white. You have to do this. And then you've got that woman who is basically saying we have to take down the barrier at all costs no matter what. And then you've got Martin's dad going, well, I'm not sure. And you've got Ember and the other big girls going, I'm not sure. And so, we've got some ethical dilemmas going on.
For sure.
But this issue, for the most part, was a big, giant kaiju fighting issue.
Action,
Which,
action, action.
I'm not. That's not why I'm reading this book, but I'm okay with it as long as we can get back to some more.
I think we will. I think we
political
will.
commentary.
I think we will for sure. I think the next book, I think
Yeah.
we'll get a mixture of both for sure. And then I think Ember's on the path to switching sides, or definitely jumping off the ship of the main side.
I will say that of all the books, not of all the books, but I'm definitely willing to give this book a lot more leeway than I am other books, because this book is literally Jason Howard.
All him. All
Like,
him.
he's got a guy doing letters with him, but that's it. Like,
Yeah.
he's doing the entire scripts, the plots. He's doing inks and colors. Like, this is his entire vision. Yeah. And I, as someone who is vastly more experienced with prose than with comics, I really can appreciate when a comic is just done by one vision. It's not getting blurred. The collaborative effort in comics is amazing, and I think it really is a testament to the style. But when you get one that's good and it's just all by one person, I'm willing to give that more of a
hell yeah, yeah. I mean, this is his first time doing any of this. I mean, that's in the sense of like doing it all by himself. Right. And like he's taking the wheel and dude, I'm totally on for the ride. All right, so that is Big Girls 2. Next up, and lastly, Chip Zdarsky's #1 from Image Comics, Stillwater. So, I picked this up, I would say me personally, I picked this up because Venom 28 got pushed to this coming week, so I had an open slot, and I was like, well, I'm going to spend the money anyway. So I ended up picking it up, really out of recommendation from Ron, and you talked about it too, like, hey, are you picking up Stillwater? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Plus it's Chip Zdarsky, and I've been wrapped up in his Daredevil run, so I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, like that's a no-brainer, right?
That is the only reason why I picked this up. It said Chip Zdarsky, and I said yes, and then I read the synopsis and was like, actually, that kind of sounds dumb, but I don't care. I want it's Chip Zdarsky, so I'm in.
Yeah. So what I'll say about this book is, because I want you to break it down more than me, but what I'll say is that it was definitely a slow burn. But once he got to the end, you had me. Like, this one was almost my pick of the week if it hadn't been for the pacing of getting to the end. And I know that was done on I get it. It's done on purpose. Like, he was literally getting you there to the point where when it happened, you were like, whoa, right? But again, the only reason for me personally of it not being the pick of the week was because of just how long it took to get there. But when we got there, holy shit. So I'll let you go.
Yeah. So basically the book starts off, well, I can't even remember our main character's name, but
Daniel.
Of course,
that's why.
Remember that.
Yeah, that one stuck out of my mind.
So basically the first half of this book is really setting up Daniel as a character. And I actually read this twice, back to back, because my first read through, I had a very similar reaction. I was like, that wasn't quite what I was expecting. So the first half of this book is really setting up Daniel as a character. He loses his job in the first page. He then goes out drinking. We see him puking outside of a bar. The next page is him waking up hungover, and he ends up getting in a fight with the bouncer, gets his ass kicked. Like, just those quick few sentences give you a pretty good picture of like what kind of guy this is. Not necessarily that he's that he's trash, but that he kind of just plays by his own rules and is willing to take risks, that kind of a thing. Basically, he wakes up from his night of drinking and getting his ass kicked, and he gets a letter from someone that says, your great aunt died and you got a bunch of money in Stillwater, in this town. So him and his buddy, his friend that was out drinking with him, decide to, all right, well, yeah, we got to go to Stillwater. We got to find out what's going on.
Money, yes, please.
I mean, it's money. Give it to me.
Exactly. Greed.
And we get we slowly get a build up that Stillwater's not normal. So at first they stop to get gas, and his friend goes inside to get some like Red Bulls and chips, and the guy's like, "Hey, is there anywhere good to eat on the way to Stillwater?" And the girl's like, "What? What's Stillwater?"
What's Stillwater?
He's like, "It's like an hour away from here. You don't know what it is?" She's like, "Nope, never heard of it." He's like, oh, "Okay, bye." And then they're like looking at road signs and stuff, and there's no road signs for Stillwater. They see that, there's a town called Coldwater and Stony Hollow, but no Stillwater. But for some reason it shows up on their phone, which I thought was kind of weird. Like, why is it showing up in the phone?
Yeah.
Showing up.
Directions, turn at the big tree. You'll know when you see it.
Yeah. So then they, take a random turn off into kind of like an overgrown treed area. They get pulled over by a cop. And the cop's just kind of weird. Like, at first he seems really serious, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, I'm just messing with you. Like, I'm not."
Just,
I don't know. Like,
just off.
He's just off. Like, he's just weird. And he's like, "Where you going?" They're like, "Stillwater." He's like, "Not a lot of people are coming to Stillwater." So they drive on, and they decide to grab something to eat in a diner. And while they're in the diner, they're asking for this law office. And again, everyone in there is just being weird, like, "Oh, no, we don't know who that is," or "Oh, that person doesn't live here anymore." And then they see two kids fighting on the roof of a building, probably like a 4 or 5 story building. And one kid gets shoved off and lands on the ground.
Or, well, no, what happens is the friend sees him. The friend sees the kids fighting, and they go out there like, "Hey, y'all shouldn't do that. That's unsafe."
Yeah.
And they both stop dead in their tracks, like, looking at him like,
stare down at them.
"Yeah, like, who are you?" And then the one kid that's not as close to the ledge is just like, "Puh!" Like,
Yeah.
like, okay, back to our fighting, and the dude just gets shoved off.
And of course they're like, "Oh, what the fuck?" Like, this kid's like bleeding from the mouth, and they're like, "Oh shit, he's dead." And everyone's just kind of like not paying attention, and they're like, "Why the fuck isn't anyone freaking out?"
Yeah.
And so, we're getting a slow build up, but I think kind of maybe what the problem is the solicitation of this book already kind of told you this stuff. And so it was like, okay, wait, Stillwater, like, isn't this a place where people can't die? That's what you said on the, like, that's what the copy for this book says. Like, we already know that. Like, we don't need, I don't need 9 pages of build up for this. I already got it.
Yeah.
So basically, they rush the kid to a doctor, and the doctor's like, "Yeah, I'll help him." Like, he realizes they're not from there, and is gonna pretend. And then the kid gets up and is like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" And just,
the kid does he does this like where his eyes are this way, and then he goes like ying, and you're like, "Oh shit!" Like, don't do that, dude. That's creepy.
I think what's really impactful is what happens next.
Yeah, so what they find out is, well, yeah, all that shit goes down, and they're clearly not doing the normal in Stillwater. So our police officer that pulled them over is like, "All right, y'all are coming with me. Like, this, I knew this shit was gonna happen. I knew you wouldn't be able to handle it. That kind of thing." And so he knocks him out and ties him up and takes him outside of the city. And outside of the city, where
he beats the
shit out. Yeah, he beats the crap out of him.
And breaks his arm.
Yeah. So they take him to the outside of the city at night, and they're setting up a bonfire. And they're like, "Yo, or can we talk about this? Like, that kid didn't die." And they're like, "Y'all are troublemakers, and we're just gonna let you know, nobody dies in Stillwater. But if you're outside of Stillwater, you most certainly die." And that's where we get our first like, "Wait, what's going on here?" And I think the friend is kind of losing his shit. Like, he's like, "Yo, you can't do this. This isn't right." And the cop kind of goes, "Yeah, that's cool," and puts a gun to the dude's head and just blows him to smithereens.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
That is where I was like, "Oh shit!" So the friend is dead. He's died outside of Stillwater. He is dead. And so they're getting ready to do the same thing to Daniel. And a car flies in, and a woman gets out and proclaims Daniel is her son and that he is back, that the Messiah has returned. And that's how the book ends. So to me, that was where, like you said, in the solicitation, we already found out that nobody dies in Stillwater, but anybody that goes outside of Stillwater does definitely die.
Yeah. Well, and it's not only that they can die while they're outside, like it literally, while they're in Stillwater, yeah, he says you're taking time off of my life. So literally, even if you're a person that's from Stillwater, when you go outside of it, it's like time starts up again.
Mm-hmm.
So you can age or get hurt or anything regular.
So like
you're in Stillwater.
Right. So you can presume like maybe if you know Stillwater and you have cancer, if you go to Stillwater and you stay in Stillwater, you'll never die of that cancer and it'll freeze. That's kind of the take I get from it. Yeah. So that's how the book ends. Daniel gets saved by his mother, and we'll find out what happens next. I'm intrigued. This might be one of the books that replaces Darth Vader. We'll see. I've got a couple independents. I think one of the independents that I'm going to drop is Ludocrats, because I'm so heavy into what I'm doing right now. So this might get replaced. That might replace this, but I'm totally in on this book.
Yep, I really enjoyed it. It almost was my pick of the week.
Same.
The art in this book is also fantastic.
Absolutely. Really, I was very close. Again, if it hadn't been like you said, the 9 to 12 pages of build up, I think it would have been my pick of the week. All right, so that does it for this week. Real quick, we've got a pretty short week next week. I don't know what you have.
Do we? I feel like it's
maybe not. Let me just go through here really quick, and we'll just do this super fast. So next week, I did add a couple books before I put this list together. I initially only had, I think like 7 books, and now I'm to 11. So I've got Dark Knight, Death Metal, Speed Metal, #1 tie-in. Daredevil #22, which we're both picking up. Yep. Doctor Doom #7, which I may or may not review that because I have not caught up on it yet. Fantastic Four Antithesis #2. Mm-hmm. Immortal She-Hulk #1. Yep. Juggernaut #1. I don't know if you're picking that up or...
I am.
Okay, cool. Mysterio #2. I'm excited about that one. Maestro, sorry. Mysterio. Spider-Woman #4. I don't know if I'm reviewing that one on here either, but we'll see. Venom #28. Super pumped about that. Yep. Wind #4. Pretty excited about that. And obviously our big book of the week, X of Swords, Creation #1, the mother of all X-Men events. I'm obviously embellishing on that. We don't know yet, but super, super stoked for next week. I was excited about this week, and I don't feel like I was disappointed, but I don't think I'm going to be disappointed next week either.
No.
Do you got anything outside of that?
Yes, I have Last God #9.
Ooh.
And I have Undiscovered Country #8.
Oh, wow. So one of those two is probably going to be your pick of the week.
Probably.
I'm just going to guess it.
The only DC book I'm currently getting, and Scott Snyder and Charles Soule on one book. I've been really enjoying that one.
So that's next week. I think next week's episode should be pretty fun. I'm really, like I said, I am looking forward to Ten of Swords so bad. Empire really let me down, so I'm ready for something to just be like, yeah. And you can't go wrong with who's the artist again? Pepe? Yeah, Pepe, dude. So go pick up your comics this week. So thanks again for watching. When you all are out shopping at your local comic book store or your LCS, please wear a mask. There's plenty of them around town. If you want to check out Collected here in Fort Worth or in Keller, please do so. There's plenty in DFW, Duncanville, all kinds of stores. And again, wear a mask. And also, very important, early voting begins in October. Please go out and vote. It is crucial that you vote, especially now with everything that's going on. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but please go vote. Please go vote.
Can I tell who to vote for?
You can go ahead and tell who to vote for.
No, I won't do that.
I think we know who we want you to vote for, but we're not going to tell you who to vote for. But if you are of the age to vote, please exercise your right to vote. It's very important this year. So on that, we're going to end the stream. We'll see you guys next week. Peace and love. Everyone stay safe.